They said you were the best in the parsec.
Welcome to
Parsec Passion, a podcast about Star Wars television shows. My name's Bubba, and with me, as always, is somebody who keeps insisting that he had the right to intervene. It's Catfish.
True. Bubba, I did have the right to intervene. We are talking about The Acolyte, Season 1, Episode 8. That's the season finale.
Whoa.
And Bubba, am I right here? I'm looking at your notes. Is it called The Acolyte?
That's how Disney Plus lists it.
Real original.
Like, well, this is hard to remember. On our Jonathan Strange and Mr. Neural podcast, the final episode of that show was titled Jonathan Strange and Mr. Neural. And then like a year later, they renamed it because they're like, yeah, that's too confusing. Hey, this episode is the final episode of The Acolyte. Confrontation and Revelation await. True. This week, we're going to be doing all our classic things we've done all season long. Our Himbo moment of the week. The Jedi who needs to be on May's kill list. We're going to have the Han Solo, possibly Nolo comedy moment of the week. Double M's going to break down the music, and we're going to rank all the Disney Star Wars TV shows. Before we do that, though, we're going to tell you what we thought of this final episode. Catfish, what is your rating out of 10 for the final episode?
Well, Bubba, I got to say, last week we were like, they got so many questions to answer.
Sure.
And Bubba,
yeah,
I still got a lot of questions. I'm giving this episode 6 out of 10, what I like to call triple S's.
Triple S's?
Yeah, that's called satisfying Saul suffocation. When Saul gets suffocated, Osha said to Saul what I've been wanting to say to him for entire episodes, which is stop talking. So even though that moment was very, very satisfying, Bubba.
Yes. More
than a few times in this episode, and I watched it twice, I wasn't even sure what was happening. Either I wasn't sure what was happening and or why it was happening. And I'm going to say, Bubba, that is not great. Now, I'm not going to talk about them all right now. I'm going to point them out as they come through. Okay. I'm going to pose them as the famous double C's.
Well, I know what those are, so let's continue. Yeah.
Catfish questions, you son of a
wait a minute, I didn't ask. You're telling me.
And then, Bubba, you can tell me why I'm just being dumb.
The big
one I have to mention.
Okay.
Is to me the splitting up of the girls and the like wiping of the memory. That makes no sense. I'm just going to say one phrase. May says, we'll meet again. Or Osha says, we'll meet again. I'm like, there's no need for you to meet again if you don't do this stupid wipe the memory and split.
Sure.
Again, a double V.
Okay, I know what that is. Continue.
Yep. Fishes for Nestra. Ends up besmirching Saul.
Yes, thank you for being angry.
It's not so bad since the stuff he actually did is worse than the extra things that she made up.
No.
Now, Bubba, one thing that I'm gonna that has nothing to do with the rating of this show. It's something I've been the whole time. I've been really for this show giving us another side to the Jedi rather than like they're all righteous dudes who always do the right thing.
Okay.
But I'm wondering. Have we gone too far? Has this portrayal of them as a dangerous cult, which a senator mentions, and you're kind of like, have they gone too far to the other side as far as like the Jedis are bad? We've got Saul, Vernestra's doing horrible things. Bubba, is it going to turn out that Yoda is bad too? Because I don't think my heart can take it.
When Yoda tried to steal that food from Luke and R2-D2 when we first met him in Empire Strikes Back, I've always thought he's a villain ever since then. Give me back my granola bar, Yoda.
Bubba, I'm very, very down on a lot of decisions of this episode. So let's forget what I have to say and let's move on to what what you have to say.
What I have to say. Well, let me say that I don't have questions like you do, Catfish. But I do think that because of my soul love, I couldn't rate this episode too high. I'm only giving this episode 7 double B's out of 10.
Oh, right. Double B's.
Yep. Backstabbing Basil's. How could Basil backstab Saul when he was going to take out that murderer? Let me say that again, murderer May. So Basil doing that when Saul was going to literally ram her spaceship into, these rings of this planet, and Basil just completely was evil and betrayed Saul.
Right. So what you're saying is it's horrible that Basil didn't let Saul brutally murder May because she's a murderer.
She is a murderer. Thank you for reminding the audience, Catfish. Evil murdering May.
So it would have been okay if Saul would have brutally murdered her when she didn't have a weapon in her hand.
You don't think a spaceship is a weapon? Listeners, this is the kind of debate we're going to have all podcast long. Kevin, why are you giggling? Here I'm just spitting hard facts at you. But I want to explain my 7 out of 10 rating, if that's okay. I loved Saul. Even in this episode, I love Saul. Just because somebody makes a mistake. I mean, Catfish, if you want me to read all your mistakes, we'll have a 5-day long podcast. But Saul made 1 or 2 innocent mistakes. He made a couple of mistakes, but still generally down deep, he was good. He was still, even after May had killed some of his friends, he wasn't he didn't want to cut her. He didn't have anger in his heart to kill her. And so once again, Saul is a good guy. I would say The Acolyte, I would describe it as the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia version of a Star Wars show. And you may be asking, what in the world does that mean? If you haven't seen It's Only Sunny in Philadelphia, and you're like, what is it? It's a comedy show that airs on the FX channel. And if you're in Europe or in other places that have Hulu integrated to Disney Plus, the same place where you see The Acolyte, you could also watch the show It's Only Sunny in Philadelphia. Now, people who've seen the show may be thinking, Bubba, that doesn't make any sense. It's Only Sunny in Philadelphia is wacky, crazy comedy. And The Acolyte, as we keep kind of pointing out, is not have wacky, crazy comedy or sometimes any comedy. And the way I think of it is that show, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, when it tries to do an episode, it is not trying to do, oh, hey, let's have a couple of singles, let's have a couple of doubles, let's just be a good chuckle comedy show. I say that show is always swinging for the fences. They are trying to pull off kind of obnoxious, crazy belly laughs. And I watch It's Only Sunny in Philadelphia, and I got to be honest, every 5 episodes, 5 out of 10 episodes, maybe more, not only do I not laugh at all, I'm like, boy, this is not working. This is not funny. But when they connect and when they hit on a comedy bit on that show, it's like the funniest comedy bit you've ever seen in your life. It's like really, really funny. And to me, this show, The Acolyte, unlike any Star Wars show, even Andor, is not aiming this high. What do I mean by that? This is a show trying to show where the prequels, say what you want to about them, showed Anakin's fall to the dark side. And some people was like, boy, Anakin really turned pretty quickly. And once again, Anakin's turn kind of had nothing to do with the Jedi. It was more about his own internal issues. This show is trying to show how the Jedi's behavior could make somebody turn to the Sith and then do all these things. It's trying to have the greatest action that you've ever seen in a television show. It's trying to do this. It's trying to do that. And so it's aiming high. And when it succeeds, like that action, and I think pretty much all the action in the show has been pretty great, it is knocking it out of the park. It's perfect. But sometimes on these specific things, like, okay, what could be a way where, once again, the Jedi's action, the institutional rules and kind of difficulty of the Jedi cause somebody to go to the dark side. Somebody might say, once again, well, the Jedi, institutional rules prevented Anakin from being with the woman he loved. And so that helped him turn to the dark side, made him leave his mother who, in slavery, that made him turn to the dark side. But say what you will, you could love the prequels. To me, it never really connected. I'm not sure this show connected either, really, in Osha's turn. But to me, the big swing and a miss on this show was May. May's motivation was all over the place. And so if I had connected more with May, then I think the show would have been more successful for me than it was. But all that said, when it was great, the Acolyte has been great, and I love that they're aiming so high. That's a long way for me to say 7 out of 10. So I would say this was like a C final episode for me.
All right, Bubba. What we always say, though,
is
we don't care what we think.
No.
We want to hear what you think.
Yes.
So tell us what you thought about this episode. We cover, again, on the Parsec Passion podcast, we cover all the Star Wars shows. So even though we don't have another episode of this show for you to comment on, when we start our next Star Wars show, which I'm sure you'll join us with, we will wrap up some of the comments from episode 8 of The Acolyte.
Those next Star Wars shows in November or December, they haven't exactly said which month of the year 2024. That's when the next Star Wars live action TV show is going to be out. It's called Skeleton Crew, starring Jude Law. I can never say his name. I was going to call him Jude Law. Jude Law. It's going to be set in the same time frame as The Mandalorian. It's even going to feature some of the pirates who appeared in Mandalorian Season 3. And so that's up in either November or December of 2024. And then next year, we know in 2025, we are getting Andor Season 2. So many people are excited for that.
Oh, man.
We are going to guess that Disney, which got Andor Season 1 a Best Drama nomination at the Emmy Awards, is going to want to do the same thing with Andor Season 2. So I would assume you'd see Andor Season 2 in April or May. Once again, if Disney wants to try to get another Best Drama nomination at the Emmy. So that's what we're expecting.
Absolutely, Bubba. And Bubba, you know what I forgot to promote before we promote our other podcasts is at the end of this episode, we are giving away 5 T-shirts, Star Wars T-shirts that are adorable and also deadly. Deadly but adorable, just like Baz.
Yes.
Now, in addition to, since you won't have us around for a little bit on the Parsec Passion, guess what? You're still lucky if you are watching House of the Dragon. You have to listen to the coverage of that show that we do. Obviously, that is on the Joffrey of podcasts. So we're covering House of the Dragon on that. That is exciting. Well, we just had episode 5 of 8. We're also covering Babylon Berlin. If you are listening to this and you watched Babylon Berlin 75 years ago, like everybody else did outside of the United States, we're doing like 4 episodes at a time. And if you're just getting to it now, you can join us too, along with that. Now, as always, all we ask is for you to subscribe to the channel. That's Double P Podcasts, Double PHQ. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, everything. We're on all those things. Leave reviews on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and that is how you get entered into this amazing free sweepstakes.
Heck yeah. Thank you guys so much, our loyal listeners. We're going to break down this episode really in depth. I want to point out, though, if you love The Acolyte or if you hate The Acolyte, the one thing that you read any interviews with creator Leslye Headland, and she has put a lot of thought into this. Everybody visit the website Collider. They have been doing interviews with her, and I'll just say this flat out. She has put so much thought into this show. I'm not sure every bit of it was successful in how it played out, but she did put a lot of thought into this. In a recent interview, she said she said this was the first attempt of anybody to have the Force create life. We all know in The Phantom Menace, we found out, hey, Anakin Skywalker, it was the Force creating this life. Seemingly the Force by itself, even though later on in the third movie, Revenge of the Sith, we find out, well, maybe the Sith were manipulating the midichlorians, the M counts, as it were. And so Headland was like, well, I thought if I'm doing a prequel, there've got to have been earlier attempts. And she used the example of an atomic bomb. She's like, atomic bomb didn't just come out of nowhere. It was somebody trying to, several steps to do it. And she said, if I'm a Sith hiding during this period, and the Sith are in hiding, what is the holy grail for them? And she thought it'd be the ticket to be able to have a power that the Jedi didn't know they had. And one of those powers to create life, live forever, like so many villains want to do. And so read these interviews on Collider. Once again, puts a lot of thought into this. It's very exciting. Okay, but now we got to get to The Acolyte. The rest of this show, we're going to have our prizes and everything, but talking this show. One thing we've done every week, Catfish, is we say, are you on Team Osha or Team May? At the end of this episode, they're theoretically on the same side, on the same team, but not together. So for the final episode, which team are you on, Catfish, Osha or May?
It's clearly Team Osha. She did the job May couldn't.
No, that's true. She killed the Jedi without a weapon. Very good.
She killed the Jedi without a weapon. This was, pretty shortly after the beginning of this show. Only Soul was left, and it took us a while for us to get to it. It makes sense. Osha did not know for a long time. And so, of course, this is going to come as a surprise to her.
Yes.
And it's going to be a shock. Soul's not used to, I think, providing excuses for his actions because he's kind of most people think he's noble and honorable. Because I will say his litany of excuses was worse than like a 3-year-old after grabbing something off the counter. Well, it was the right thing to do. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. It fell off. His excuses, one after the other, were so easily deflated.
I've never heard an anti-3-year-old argument quite like yours. It just fell off the counter, huh? Grow up.
Yeah, right. Thanks a lot, Soul. All right, Bubba, what about you? Team Osha or Team May?
Who killed Soul?
Osha.
I'm on Team May then. How could Osha do it? Everybody says, I want you to be honest with me. Be truthful with me. Soul was truthful with her one time. The one time he was truthful with her, she killed him. Never be truthful, people. That's the bottom line of this show.
I think if you're going to be truthful, have a decent excuse.
Be wearing a turtleneck with some steel.
12 bad ones. All right, we had a listener, our listener Lowdown show.
Heck yeah.
After episode 7, they went off the board, Bubba.
What?
I blame you for this. You go off the board all the time, and you're encouraging our listeners. After episode 7, I'm Team Indara.
Whoa.
Let's be clear. Team Indara is dead after the first 10 minutes of real time in the first episode of this show. Said she's been in 3 episodes. Maybe she'll be in episode 8. No, thank God, no. Carrie-Anne Moss would at least be in half the season if that's the case. People thought she was only going to be in 1 episode.
That's true. If you saw the first 10 minutes of the first episode, she totally rebounded her screen time from what you thought after that. So good work, Carrie-Anne Moss, Master Indara. Lowdown Show is on your side. And Lowdown Show, hey, let us know which team you're on this week. We want to know. All right, Catfish, it is time because we officially have 6, count them 6, Revenge of the Sixth, Star Wars television shows. They are aimed at different audiences and they are trying to do different things. Earlier, I was talking about how The Acolyte is really aiming for a home run. For me, should I give it credit because it's aiming for a home run and maybe got doubles, singles, and maybe some triples, certainly on the great action? Or do I say, well, The Mandalorian was just trying to be like a fun adventure of the week, especially in season 1. And so it was trying to be a fun adventure of the week. And it was a fun adventure of the week in season 1, even though that's maybe not aiming too high or too far. Should it be number 1? Listeners, how do you rank the Star Wars television shows? I'm going to go ahead and go first.
Go ahead, go, Bubba.
And I am going to give it to The Mandalorian. I know season 3 had a lot of issues, mainly because it tried to stop being an adventure of the week and tell kind of more of a serialized story, while still occasionally having adventures of the week like the one with Jack Black and Lizzo. So Mandalorian, I think on the whole, what it's trying to do, it succeeds at entirely. For my second best Star Wars television show, I'm going to go Andor. Andor, I think if you watch it in 3-episode chunks, it is practically perfect. I am going to knock it a bit for some of those weeks. If you don't watch it in a binge and you have to watch 1 episode by a time, normally in the 3-episode arcs, the episode 1 and episode 2 aren't as thrilling. And so otherwise, though, what Andor is trying to do, it succeeds at. So for me, Andor number 2.
Okay.
Number 3, there were some issues with Obi-Wan, but when it came to those 2 fights in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series between Darth Vader, Anakin, and Obi-Wan, I thought they were emotionally strong. I thought they were great action fights. I know that little Leia had some trouble for people, but certainly not as much as little Lita did, Mon Mothma's daughter on Andor. So I'm putting Obi-Wan number 3.
Was she a main character in that show?
Lita or little Leia? What you talking about? Lita, oh boy. Okay, she's great. Okay, for 4 and 5, I'm almost having to flip a coin. Why? Because Book of Boba Fett, it wanted to be a wacky, almost 50s fun monster romp craziness gangster. It tried to do a lot of things to be light and fun, and a lot of it was light and fun. Like I always like to point out the crazy Wookiee black Chrysantan. We had Hutts, we had Rancors, we had all this craziness, and of course we had Mando and Grogu suddenly show up too. Or do I put the Acolyte, which is aiming much higher, but was maybe as inconsistent for me as the Book of Boba Fett was? I flipped the coin, and this goes back to I was a childhood lover of Boba Fett as a design. So I ended up putting Boba Fett at 4, the Acolyte at 5, and then 6. This is crazy because I know people who connected with this character in the animated shows, but because I really didn't watch all the animated shows, didn't watch every episode of the animated shows, I should say, and didn't have that strong connection to Ahsoka, I am sadly putting Ahsoka as number 6, even though I believe it was episode 3 of that season, 3 or 4. I apologize. Can't remember exactly which one. I almost gave 10 out of 10. It was such a fun action episode. But I think Ahsoka has been the least successful, and certainly the end of Ahsoka you could see coming a mile away. So Ahsoka season 1. So that's me. Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Boba Fett, Acolyte, and Ahsoka. How about you, Catfish? What are your top 6 of the 6 Star Wars TV shows?
All right, Bubba, here we go. So I'm flipping your first 2.
Okay.
I've got to go. I love Mandalorian.
Yep.
It's a great, fun. We've complained about some of the episodes being very, it's kind of one-shotty, but that's what it's going for.
Exactly.
This is 1 and 2, so I mean,
it's
still the top.
100%.
But
putting Andor number 1 makes plenty of sense to me.
I don't feel like we have ever gotten a Star Wars media, at least I haven't, maybe some of the cartoons have, that has been as different as the rest of it. I feel like Andor feels like something really of its own. It's exceedingly well done, and so I'm putting that above The Mandalorian.
Sure.
I had the same problem as you with 3 and 4. I'm gonna put Acolyte over Boba Fett, even though the end of Boba Fett, the last few episodes, it was The Mandalorian. We had that great Western shootout with the super baddie. That was great. So I could flip either one of those.
Okay.
Number 5, I'm going to put Ahsoka, which I have not seen. And
you're putting something
6,
number 5 and you haven't seen it? Okay, sure.
Yeah, and so because number 6, I'm putting Obi-Wan.
Yeah, boy, you are so tough on little Leia. You're so tough.
It's not just little Leia. I mean, we've got that backstory, but the confrontations between Obi-Wan and Darth were good. They were well choreographed and interesting, but you knew nothing was going to happen. I mean, this is
okay. That's fair. That's completely fair.
With shoving this show in when we've already seen the very end of it. It was the same thing with the last Mad Max they did. It's that kind of thing where you're like, all right, I know what's going to happen here. So I think that's fair. I just didn't, part of it too is I guess a lot of people liked Ewan McGregor as the original Obi-Wan. And I just really, anything, and this is only half joking, this is just the way I feel, anything associated with the prequel trilogies is tainted to me. They're so bad.
They have some rough stuff, for sure.
They're so bad that it's like, we want to see more of what was associated with this. The answer for me was no. So that's
I agree.
1 and 2 I thought were close. 3 and 4 were close. Ahsoka has a soft spot in my heart over Obi-Wan because I haven't seen it.
Listeners, we love to say, who cares what we think? We want to know what you think. We have gone really heavy for Mando and Andor. We've both put Ahsoka very low. I know there are people who love that character, love all the characters from the animated Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars The Clone Wars. So if you love it, give us your list. We want to know. At PHQ down in the YouTube comments. Let's go. And speaking of let's go and Catfish.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go into this episode. We've got Osha and the Stranger / Chimere. We've got May and Sol. They're going to come together at the beginning. Which one do you want to tackle first?
Let's start with Osha and the Keymaster.
The good old Keymaster. She has put on the mask. That's where we left her.
Right.
The stranger is like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. Time for me to have my mask back. And suddenly she starts whipping out some of her mother's witchy powers. We see the Keymaster's eyes going that jet black like Torben's did. And it was like, uh-oh, Keymaster, maybe you should never lend your helmet to somebody else. Whoa.
I mean, I guess he's maybe worried for her. I was kind of wondering why he reached for her in the first place. That makes sense to me. But what we're missing out on here, and this is because I said 2 episodes ago, oh, I'm so excited to see what happens with her with the helmet on. And because we had the flashback, we're 2 weeks separate from that.
Yes.
But my question, Bubba, is we get no time with her experiencing what she's connected to. Give us some of that. It must be cool. It must be different. Give us something. All of a sudden he's reaching for her and then he turns black. I'm not sure why she's doing it. It's like the scene didn't really it's like it kicks off with kind of like with confusion on my part. So
well, it kicks off with us not really, we're left with her putting on the mask. And then by the time she takes it off, we've seen, once again, I mentioned, we've seen her using her witch powers, which means she's kind of, those witch powers we always assume are not what you would call Jedi type powers, not Jedi, positive things. But otherwise, we don't really see how it had affected her. So it's almost like, why'd she even put it on? I do agree with that, Catfish. But the stranger pretty much just says, "Oh, you saw the future." And what she said she saw was she saw May with her hand outstretched with a saber, and May killing Soul. But of course, she and May are kind of one spirit, one thing divided in two. So she saw herself killing Saul. But of course, she didn't see herself killing Saul with a stretched out saber. Her hand was outstretched. She did have the saber, but her hand was outstretched, choking a perfect hero. So very interesting. Now the stranger, he's asking her, he's like, and he's real gentle. Boy, when we talk about seducing to the dark side, at times he's very much like, so what do you think? You want to hop in this Prius? He's not doing a hard push. A car salesman would do a harder job. He'd say, you should be trained. Would you ever consider? No. That was her response. No.
Well, but here we go. Here's another Catfish question. Everything we've seen up to this point, he's just going to let her go? This doesn't seem that was not his plan. He's like, you know what? I'll give her like 24 hours of a taste of what it's like and then let her go. I mean, to me, it seemed like he probably wanted her harder than that. So
I completely agree. But I just said it a second ago. It may not make logical sense for the dark side of the Force to kind of tempt you this way, but this is the soft sell. This is we want you to convince yourself to join, right? Like this isn't the hard sell. Like you got to join now. This is like, hey, I gave you a test drive of the helmet. Now let's just wait for, that side of you to come out. Or maybe he just knows that once she finds out the truth about Soul, it's over. I've got her. Maybe. I mean,
maybe it just seems too quick. I can see the soft sell, but the soft sell takes longer than the hard sell. So you don't soft sell somebody for a day. Like,
no, that's true.
He needed to like convince her some more. Maybe have him join her for a naked bath or two, and then let her go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's got to give her a little bit more before he's got her hooked. This seemed like a decision to me, like, well, we just got to move forward with this, and it doesn't make any logical sense to me.
Maybe it's we don't want to tip our hand, even though it's kind of already been tipped, of how May is going to turn. Like everybody who's watching this probably feels like she's going to be turned. And so maybe this is one last, hey, we got to surprise him later when she does turn, of like show that even nude guy can't get her to turn. Now, what I do love is this dialogue. He's like, last chance. And she said, I told you I'm not my sister. And then I love this. She theoretically loves her sister and hates her sister. And he drops in, is this a diss? He's like, oh, you're definitely not. May made the deal without even thinking about it. Your dumbass sister didn't even consider it. Wow. What do you think about that, Catfish? Is that good? Like, hey, yeah, you're considering it. You're smarter than she is. Maybe a nice little way to shine somebody up.
I mean, yeah, sure. Just to say, and you know what, he could have said also, you're better looking.
Or he would have been like, yeah, I knew you wouldn't. Osha never joined me. Wait, I am Osha. Oh, dang it. I keep getting you guys confused. Now, this is an oh snap moment in somebody Catfish who's not ready for maybe because the show has not set this up at all. But if you've watched Revenge of the Sith, we find out, Palpatine, the evil emperor, the guy who's done everything evil, he tells this story, his kind of soft sell story to Anakin about, you want to save someone you love from dying. Well, did you ever hear about this Sith? The Sith seemingly knew how to do it. Did you ever hear this tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? And so sure enough, if you have read the books, if you have read the comics, you know that Darth Plagueis is this alien. He's a species, is an alien creature known as a mun. And so as one little kind of seasoning, maybe for season 2, what do? Chimere and Osha are rocketing away. And who's there watching them? But sure enough, Darth Plagueis. If you are deep in the lore and you knew he's this alien, you were probably like, "Oh snap! Give me season 2. I want to see a full Sith. I want to see somebody really damn evil." But of course, it was just a little spice. Now, Catfish.
Well, our listeners did let me know when they were complaining because I called Chimere the Keymaster. They were like, "He's not the master. Somebody else is the master." And then my response was, "Well, anybody who's got a Padawan is a master." But so we did think there is someone behind him. He is not the Keymaster. Is not the top of the food chain for sure.
No, and so this is him, creepy evil SOB, or as I put, perfect. He's a perfect Sith. Alrighty, Catfish. That means we are going to have to go to Saul, America's hero, and May, the evil murderer. And, of course, backstabbing Basil. So let's go to them.
How about Vicious Vernestra?
Yes. Well, how about this? So once again, Soul has got made, terrible, terrible, tragic mistakes. But his motivation in this is still to save Osha, to save the twins who hated him, the one twin who killed multiple of his friends. His goal is to save them. And so the way he's going to do it, though, is he's got to get Osha. So he goes, okay, I know where she's going to go. What's going to end up back on Brendok. And so now that I have both of you, now that you're alive, I can prove that this mission I got stuck on 16 years ago, it had a point. There was a vergence. I could tell there was a vergence. It's the two of you guys. I could feel it now that you're together. I can tell. And so once I tell everybody, then I can also tell them, by the way, I accidentally killed their mother and all the witches.
Bubba, how does the fact that he can prove there's a vergence change anything about what's happened here? Is going to change anybody's opinion about what went down and what May and Osha are upset about?
Okay, well, I think
and has affected their lives. He's going to be like, "Oh, it's a vergence." They're like, "Oh, fine, everything's no." It's not gonna in any way redeem the tragedy of their mother and the other witches. If you believe that's a tragedy, kill witches is what I say. But anyway, it's not going to change that at all. However, though, if you think about what happened that night, what really caused the big trouble that night was Torben and Soul rushing back to the witch's compound and breaking in again, right? Like breaking in. Yeah. That really caused the trouble. And so they did it because they said, "Hey, there's a vergence here. There's a vergence here. We could prove it." And then, of course, by the end of everything, they couldn't prove it because everybody was dead, and they kind of broke up the two sisters from being together. So it's almost like you wanted me to. I mean, this is a terrible example of it. And so, but it's the first one. However, you can explain it to me.
Well, let's say you were sent on an expedition to find gold in the Yukon, right? Like that's something that happened in real life.
Right.
And you go on the expedition for gold, you accidentally cause a terrible cave-in, right? Like it's a tragedy. It was an accident, but you killed a bunch of people in a cave-in. You would feel even worse if it turned out the cave didn't have any gold in it, right? Like that would somehow be the worst. Is like, oh my God, I killed all these people. We went there for gold, and there wasn't even gold. We went in a cave that didn't have gold in it, and I accidentally killed all these people. Where here, it's like, okay, I went on an expedition to find gold. I did cause an accident that killed a bunch of people, but guess what? There was gold. So that is a terrible thing. Okay. That's off the top of my head.
Okay, all right, and look, I'm taking you at your word for that, and it's tough because I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay.
All I'm saying is whether there was gold in that mine or not, that makes no difference to the relatives of the people that died in that mine.
That's 100%.
And it probably doesn't make any difference to, let's say, a business sent him out there. If he can tell the business, hey, look, I was right, they don't care. Why would they care either? So I don't understand why he's like, this is the solution to all my problems. I'm going to prove there's a virgins. Who gives a flying flip? It's not going to, who cares?
I was on a mission. They were on a sabbatical. They were on whatever you would call it to find this virgins. They not only didn't find it, they accidentally killed a bunch of witches. They accidentally killed a bunch of witches. If you could once again prove that the mission did have a point, that it's very little. You're still going to, have to accept all the punishments. But if you're saying like, hey, the mission had a point. It wasn't, we found the thing we were looking for. So maybe the mission wasn't a failure. I'm trying to come up with it off the top of my head, but at the very least, that is only in this specific instance. That is still only one part of it. The other part, I understand. He thinks Osha's in danger, which being with the Keymaster, she is in danger. It's like, hey, I'm going to save her, and at the same time, I'm going to prove that the original mission did have a point.
Okay, it's just the focus on that for him, that being his focus, seemed to me to be completely besides the point. So him really focusing on it was like, I was like, what's? I mean, obviously Saul's at this point been driven mad. He's an insane killer at this point. So I guess anything that he uses as justification is not going to make sense. But maybe I'm just giving too much credit to Saul at this point. All right, so go ahead. I've hassled you enough about this minor thing that really bothers me.
How about this? We're going to talk real briefly about Babylon Berlin, guys. A show that we're going to spoil, kind of a big twist in this Babylon Berlin. At the end of Babylon Berlin, they have this storyline about gold in a train car. And so these people come and they grab this thing they think is a gold bar, and they're like, yes, yes, yes. And then the gold bar falls, and it turns out it wasn't real gold, right? That kind of catharsis that these characters have in this moment of like, oh my goodness, it was all pointless. This is the exact opposite of that. It's like, oh my goodness, we did all these terrible things, but you know what? There was gold in this train car. So again, not perfect, but what is perfect is Soul. He is defiant. He's telling May it was an accident. And then he was like, you started that fire. And she
then
did.
He blames. Good.
He said, you locked everyone in. She did. What happened to your mom was an accident. We had a right to intervene. My biggest regret, let's keep going. He says, my biggest regret is I couldn't save you both.
He didn't really try. What?
I couldn't save you both. You're not even twins. You're not even sisters. I couldn't save you both. Perfect. The defense rests.
Once again, half the things he says in there are lies.
Wait, hold on. It was an accident. It was an accident. That's true. You started the fire. She did start the fire. You locked everyone in. That's true. Okay. What happened to your mom was an accident. That's true.
That's not true. That is not true. She turned into smoke and he killed her.
She did witchy stuff, and then she got in the way of his lightsaber.
That is not an accident.
That is it.
Okay, moving on.
All right, so how about this?
Hold on. We had a right to intervene.
Yeah.
Who gave him that right? The dangerous cult? The dangerous cult? Okay. My biggest regret is I couldn't save you both. That's not true. His biggest regret. Okay. You and Osha are not twins. You're not even sisters. Okay, that's true.
Okay, there you go.
Half these things are lies.
Now, May, for me, was always the weak point in this episode. Or the weak point that I didn't feel she was consistent, and I had trouble connecting with May. So May uses Pip to get out of her cuffs, and she runs to get in his ship. What is May's goal again? Is her goal to kill Saul? Why doesn't she stay there and try to kill him? Or is her goal to escape punishment for all these Jedi she's murdered? Either way, she's like, I'm getting away from Saul and from Basil, and she starts flying away. And so this was a beautiful chase. This is a beautiful setting to put a space chase in. We've seen them in asteroid fields before. We've seen that in Empire Strikes Back and Attack of the Clones. But to me, the way this asteroid field was, where it was almost like there was space in between two different fields of space debris, I thought it was beautiful. I didn't think it made much sense, but I did think it was beautiful.
I mean, listen, I have to apologize to you because a few episodes ago, when May pretended to be Osha, you were like, I don't understand what her plan is here.
Yeah.
And I proposed that she had a plan, and you're like, well, that makes sense. But I was completely wrong. I don't know why she joined Saul in the first place.
No.
I don't know why she didn't try to kill him, even at the expense of her own life.
Yep.
So I don't know what her plan is here.
Well, she's flying away. And she's telling Pip, she's like, listen, Saul and his spaceship, he's too big to follow us in here.
Yeah, but she is not aware how persistent a killer Saul is.
How dare
because
you.
He is willing to risk himself just to kill her.
Who caused his death? A lot of people would say Osha because she choked him. A lot of people would say Chimere because he revealed the truth, May because she revealed the truth. No, he's the person who really put Saul in the pasture is Basil by sabotaging the ship. Basil sabotaged this ship. He could have smashed and disabled May's ship, and then she would have been trapped there for the Jedi Council to get. Instead, Basil betrays his Jedi. Who knew Basil was the secret Sith?
So you put that on Basil.
I do.
Oh man, Saul's death. I didn't put that on Basil.
Watch closer. Maybe watch a third time, Catfish.
You'll see sure that it wasn't Saul's own lying mouth?
Lying mouth, he was telling the truth. He was telling the truth when it happened. So there, once again. Okay, now let's go to your favorite character, Senator Rayencourt, who is insulting.
Love him.
Who is insulting our green Jedi politician. She's a Jedi, but she's also doing political things for Nestra Rowe. And
let me say this: if Rayencourt is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Let's read some of his just ice cold dissing quotes. I think the Jedi are a massive system of unchecked power, posing as a religion, a delusional cult that claims to control the uncontrollable. And, that's what I think watching the RNC this week, but still. This is ice cold. And he's like, listen, control the uncontrollable. Of course, our girl Vanessa is like, wait a minute. We don't control the Force. And he says, no, the uncontrollable is not the Force. It's your emotions. You project an image of goodness and restraint, but it's only a matter of time before one of you snaps. And when, not if that happens, who will be strong enough to stop him? And now here, I was upset she didn't say Soul, because he has been, he's proven that he's strong enough to stop a lot of witches. So,
I was upset for Nestor didn't say, look, we don't need one of us to turn bad. We're children and witch killers without even having to turn bad.
Of course not.
We've already broken bad.
Vernestra, it is ice cold when you're like, is that all, Senator? While you're force opening the door to be like, get the hell out. Mm-hmm. And then he's, give him some credit. He's like, good luck, Vernestra. Now, what is it that you say? May the force be with you. Oh, snap. Mm-hmm. This guy... He's sick of your crap. He's Senator McCarthy. He wants his hearings, Catfish.
Yeah, because there's this private group, these people doing spooky black ops,
saving many people and doing lots and lots of good,
and killing a whole bunch of other people. All right, Bubba, we've got all our teams in place. Now it's time for them to meet on the Brendock. So here we are. We've got Saul. He's out there. The stone cold killer Saul. He calls out for May.
He returns and he sees the bridge where the girls fell, and he's haunted by his past, Catfish. He's filled with regret that he didn't kill May.
Sure.
Now May is haunted by her past. She walks to their old room. She sees their old room. Hey, this is the room where I locked my sister in and set it on fire accidentally. The stranger is pretty much, once again, he knows how this is going down. He has a vision of the Force himself. He's like, thank you for leading me to her. You and I, Soul, we make a great team. And then it's, oh, hell yes, some action. The one thing the show does incredibly well is let's have the stranger and Soul fight mano a mano. This is like round 2. This is the thriller in the Witchzilla. We are
let's interrupt it again, though.
Well, what? Yeah, okay. We did interrupt it because the story of the sisters. So Soul is kicking. He is kicking the stranger's butt. So I say stick on it. Don't cut away to the sisters. The sisters, they have really never gotten it together. Osha is like, hey, May, in the end, you won. I never became a Jedi. And then we find out why she failed. She said, I failed pretty much because of you, May, how you make me feel and how my emotions towards you inside. And then Pip is on the evil side. Pip sprays his former owner in the face with his evil mace, his evil acid. I mean, way to go, Pip.
Look, listen, there's some true heroes in this show.
Thank you.
They're Pip and Basil, and we see they've decided to be on the right side of this.
No, I loved Soul. I love that. No, in both fights, Soul wins. He doesn't finish the job, but he wins. He destroys that evil Sith saber. I was like, hell to the yeah, good work, now, Soul.
Bubba, hold on. Is there yet another piece of new information that's been hiding in Triple C?
Triple C.
Yeah, that's cartoon or comic book canon. Okay. I thought, how many more things can actually destroy a lightsaber? There's all of a sudden now you can cut a lightsaber with a lightsaber. Well, what the heck, Bubba?
You could, I'm pretty sure you could always cut a lightsaber handle with a lightsaber. You're right. The blade itself you can't cut, but the handle you could cut. And it's just, I think you're just heartbroken that Soul once again destroyed the Keymaster and made him look like a little sissy guy who needs to work more on his lightsabering than on Arm Day, is what I would say.
I mean, he's crushing Arm Day.
And once again, he should have, my goodness, Soul, you should have chopped off his hands last time. This time, you love talking. What's funny is Soul is talking when he should be slicing, and May intervenes and takes Soul's lightsaber and throws it away. And then the stranger, he's like, I bet this is a great line. Hey, good May, strike him down and your journey will be complete. Like, no, that has never worked for a Sith. Just be quiet and let it happen. And Soul is still defiant. I did the right thing. I wanted to protect you both. You and Osha are the same person. I was protecting
1 out of 3 isn't bad.
I was protecting you. It was the right thing to do.
Okay, so now he's 1 right thing out of 5.
He says, without May, he's now Osha's there. And he's like, listen, without your sister May, there was no proof that you were created this way.
That is absolutely a freaking lie. I want to take you back to this planet. Okay. However many years ago, 17 years ago.
Right.
When they got their Ancestry.com DNA results, they were in the computer.
Yep.
And what happened? They were all fine, and they all flew back with those results.
That's exactly right. Right.
So there was exactly proof that they were created in an unorthodox way.
That is Catfish. I will bow down to you and say that is completely wrong. How dare you insult Soul? All right. So then Osha, she finally hears the truth. She finally hears the truth. And this was Soul's only second mistake in his life ever. Is that he had never told her the truth. In Catfish, we both suspected she was going to turn evil. But did you suspect she was going to choke her father figure? Oh, not good.
I mean, it makes complete sense. I mean, we talked about it. We should have guessed all along, considering that Soul seemed to be the one Jedi that May couldn't kill.
Yep.
And then we see it's awesome because Osha's has Soul's blade, and the
Yep.
blade turns from the blue to the red.
Shame.
And so that must maybe mean that it's being used for good, because it was blue when evil Soul was holding it.
Oh,
And
how
now it's
dare you.
red, but that's
No,
the
it's
good
being
side.
used out of anger. Soul's last words. Are these good last words, Catfish? He looks at Osha and says, it's okay. Are you going to say that to your killer, Catfish?
Sure. I mean, I guess that's fine. If it was, I'm surprised he didn't say, I was completely justified.
Well, I just think it was very big of Soul to fake his death so she could have some closure.
I know. The Keymaster is like, whoa. He knows the Osha. He's like, I reach out and touch
This one's
Osha.
got power.
No.
This one, yeah.
She strikes out at him with the red blade. She's like, get away. And then we see Vernestra and more red shirts landing on the planet.
Yes.
And all of a sudden she's like, woo. And she's like, she says, she feels, come here. And she says, you're alive. And he is like, oh, helmet on. And then we knew that the Keymaster had an evil master that trained him, and now we find out it's Vernestra.
Wait, no, it was the guy back in the cave.
No. She knows who he is. She knows who he is. I still would like to know his background. I assume he was also justifiably stolen as a child.
You know what? We wanted to throw him back. That's that scars on his back, as we were throwing back this evil SOB.
All right, so now we got Vernestra, the red shirts, and our boy Baz.
Yep.
They're
so
Vernestra
has these force powers where she can kind of feel the past. She can kind of feel what happened.
Yeah.
And she can go back all the way to the witches.
She's a Jedi CSI.
Yep. These girls are running. They have to escape the way May escaped way back when. And of course, this is a funny,
you said there was no escape, that May left an easy escape for people.
Right. But do you realize she goes, well, I was falling and then I got sucked into this tube. In other words, if you remember the Empire Strikes Back, Luke says, no, I'll never join you, Vader, falls, and then somehow he gets sucked into a tube. So it's this ridiculous / I think actually pretty smart idea of how there are these safety protocols that suck things into the tube so nobody falls to their death. Happened in Empire Strikes Back, happened here. But these sisters, this is the moment, Catfish. Let's get to it. There's crying at the tree. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I'm sorry I started the fire. They're crying. And suddenly they realize they have to say goodbye. The stranger's like, I only want one of you. This one's powerful enough to kill a Jedi without a weapon. I'm taking her. And then if you can't take them both, and admittedly their ship was only a 2-person ship, but they're like, May, you got to stay here. And why does May have to stay here? I think because they know that the person who killed the Jedi, everybody knows, there were witnesses that know that May killed Indara, that May broke into the Jedi temple and gave that poison to Torben. And so it's pretty much like, you got to stay here and take the rap for what you did, because if not, they'll be looking for you forever. And if they're looking for you forever, they might find us. To me, these sisters saying goodbye, the show and the music felt like this is a happy moment because the sisters are finally reunited. But I thought, wait a minute, finally reunited, we're literally obliviating one's memory and the other one's going to join the Sith. This isn't a happy moment at all. What did you think of this moment, Catfish?
But this is where the episode broke me.
Oh, no.
These two sisters just found each other.
Yep.
They're okay. I think it's May that says to Osha, what do you want to do?
Right.
But I can't believe that they would agree. Why not just stay there and fight? I can't believe that at this point.
Or stay together and run away together.
Yes, stay together, run away together. I cannot believe that they would agree to split up, much less for one to have her memory wiped. Especially irritating when May, who's going to get her memory wiped, says to Osha, I'll find you. How? She won't even remember her. And there's no need to find her. She's right there. Why go through a whole lot of trouble to come back and find you? This plan makes no sense whatsoever. It's not explained well. It's just a well, we're going to split these people up, and this is going to be interesting. But it makes zero sense to me. And I was just like, at this point, I was like, no, they don't. They may do well in the second season. It may be interesting, but they completely jumped the Wookiee here.
Jumped the Wookiee here. Let me say that once again, by any logical stretch of the imagination, witnesses saw May kill Adar. They saw May break into Torben's space, into the Jedi Temple. She fought Saul in a city. People know her. She stole a speeder. Like, people know May. You're going to have May brought in, and May face the consequences. Of course, May brought in who has no memory and doesn't even really remember her sister in any way. Can't even say they're saying together. That's pretty tough.
I mean, basically what they're saying is, we're going to wipe your memory, and we're going to hope that the fact that when the Jedi probe you, you don't remember any of this,
right?
That somehow they'll be lenient on you. In other words, when she says, I'll find you, I want Osha to say to her, good luck, you're going to be dead soon. The Jedi are going to kill you. Like, your explanation is great. For Osha to go off with the Keymaster and do their master plan, they need to set somebody up. The fact that she's setting up a close sister of hers who's also okay with it, just broke.
Very odd. But the thing that broke me is Vernestra lying to the world and ruining the reputation of Perfect Soul.
I mean, the fact is, she just added one little extra bit. She just added one little extra bit. If he was the one who caused all these problems, when him and your boy went to the temple, he's the one who caused all the problems. So ergo, everything that happened as a result of that is Saul's fault.
Well, so first of all, how is Jackie dying? Jackie and Yor dying. How is that Saul's fault?
He's the reason why they ended up where they did.
No. The person who is evil, the person who's to blame, is Chimera is to blame.
No.
Vernestra even points out, saying, hey, May, you've had your mind wiped, but I could tell on that planet Brendok, I felt through the Force before he put his helmet on, a pupil of mine who turned to evil. So that is who to blame.
No, that's not who to blame.
Revenge for Jackie, revenge for Yord.
That's Vernestra trying to cover up her own bad behavior. I mean, these Jedi, it's all about covering up bad stuff they've done so they can walk around like they're white knights.
Someone who should be a white knight is Yoda, and Vernestra goes to him.
Again.
What do you think Vernestra says to Yoda? She says, Saul was evil. Or does she say, Yoda, there's something going on here. My former pupil was there. We've got this woman with a white mind. Yoda, clean up this mess. What do you think? What do you think she's saying to Yoda?
I mean, sometimes when you're just like, when you're in the same group with somebody, you're like, look, you can understand, right? And she goes to Yoda and she's like, look, from greenie to greenie, you gotta help me out, bro.
You gotta protect the green.
That's right. You all know it ain't easy.
It ain't easy being green. Now, Osha and the stranger are chilling at the beach, possibly holding hands back at the beach cave. Is it going to be sexy swim time, or, okay, now you're my student, and so I got to train you in all the evil ways? What do you think's happening at the beach, Catfish?
Yeah, I think it might be, and this is just off the top of my head, a quintuple S situation.
Quintuple S?
Yeah, sexy Sith swimming and sword swinging.
Okay, all right, okay, enough. Enough. That is, we know.
That was an impromptu quintuple S for you,
boy.
Bubba.
When I have to say that's enough, we have talked about the episode. We've talked an awful lot, but once again, who cares what we think? Listeners, what do you think? Disagree with Catfish, agree with me. Those are your only options. Down below on YouTube at Double PHQ. Okay, Catfish. Now let's have some fun. This episode was challenging to us. Let's have some fun. Who do you think, in our weekly Miss Sponsorship opportunity, which advertiser should have been advertising during this episode?
All right, as we keep saying, I mean, Disney, you may be watching it on an ad-supported tier. I'm not, but
Yep.
it really feels like rather than having ads that'll interrupt things that people, since people aren't used to them, I guess they're becoming reused to them. A little product integration into the show will help support it. So for me, this missed sponsorship opportunity of the week was Hall's Mentholyptus throat lozenges for Saul.
Why? Oh, because he's been choked by an evil student.
Yes.
Again,
He's
that
like,
was brave of him.
It's okay. Do you have a lozenge?
Ricola.
Right. I considered Ricola, but yeah, she gives him the lozenge, and he's like, and then she kills him, and he's like, at least I died with a non-scratchy throat.
I know. Hear my words. I had a right to intervene.
All right, Bubba.
Yeah.
That's mine. Now listen, there's room for more than one here.
Oh,
Bubba,
good.
what if you were to add to the halls, what would you what sponsorship would you put in this show?
Well, both this would tie into Soul and it would tie into Vernestra.
Great.
What should have been advertised is Facebook. It's a way to keep in contact with your former students who turned evil. It's like, oh, it's my former student. He's alive. Hey, let me check Facebook.
And
Facebook status, living.
And then you see some of the posts.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Shameful.
Right. The Sith and the Jedi. There's good on both sides.
Oh, no. Here we go. Catfish, we talk about Himbo moves of the week. I believe this got introduced because of my boy Yord and the Yord
It
Horde.
Absolutely did. Because
but he's been gone for a while.
He has been, but luckily he's been replaced mostly by the Keymaster.
Yes.
Nothing, Bubba. Nothing says Himbo more than ripping off your sleeves before a fight to show the ladies your guns. Shh, I'm in, bro. Bubba, what was your Himbo move of the week?
I'm with you. It's the stranger. He's the Himbo. Why? When an old girl you used to know shows up and you put on a hat and hope not to get recognized, that's a Himbo move.
All right, Bubba, we have the Han Solo comedy moment of the week, where we choose the one moment that may have been slightly and or darkly amusing. Bubba, I've got two options for this week.
Let's hear them.
One of them is during the fight when the ship flies over and Saul says, "Now you pay for what you've done." And the Keymaster says, "Oh, they're not here for me."
Hey, now.
Zing, boom. Okay. Option two is when just a laugh of relief for me it got when Osha said to Soul what we've been thinking all along: stop talking.
Hey, it's not funny. Okay, so those, as many listeners are saying right now, those weren't funny moments. To me, the comedy moment was the post-credit scene where Soul once again reveals he had faked his death and then sat up and said, "Women." That was the comedy moment of the week, Kev. Am I right or am I right?
I mean, it's certainly yours right as Soul.
I mean, what's the deal with these women who run away from me after I kill their mom?
All right, Bubba, we just got a couple more. We just got a couple more bits before we're sadly done with this season. First of all, we've got May's hit list. Ooh. May had a list that she followed. There was 4 names on it. She did great with the first 3, and then someone else finished off. Well, not someone else. I guess it was really her, since they're the same person. Finished it off with Soul tonight. So, Bubba, which Jedi would you kill this week? Considering what's been going on politically in the U.S., let's not offer to kill anyone real. Let's just say, which Jedi would you kill this week, Bubba?
Well, the Jedi. Oh, wait a minute. No, not anybody real. So, listeners, I did it to get that reaction from Catfish. Watch the video as he is howling in laughter. We were not being serious about a Kyle Gass type situation.
So good. I lobbed it up there and you hit it right out of the park.
So I will say that Vernestra, for soiling the Soul name, she should be on May's hit list.
You know what, Bubba? I'm gonna stick with you,
Yeah.
but not because she soiled Saul's name. It's because she's also hiding things,
Yep.
and nothing would delight me more
Oh no.
than for season 2, episode 1 to start kind of a little bit higher than it ended. So we're a
Okay.
little bit higher
Oh no.
from on Yoda, and
Uh-huh.
all we see is we don't see any arms. We just see a lightsaber slash.
Oh no.
And Vernestra's head hits the ground. The implication being Yoda heard her story and was like, "No, I'm moving on."
This is terrible.
Yoda,
Terrible.
take care of business, buddy. Clean. Someone's got to clean house, Bubba. And I hope that it's Yoda.
Oh
Because does
boy.
this rock go all the way to the top? Please say it isn't so.
Okay, get ready for this transition.
Hmm?
Speaking of say it isn't so, Daryl Hall plays the keyboards, just like Double M Matt Murdock. Now, what's funny is I was originally going to say, hey, you know, Yoda's really smart. That reminds me of our musical expert, Double M Matt Murdock. But throwing out say it isn't so reminded me how much you love Daryl Hall on Concert Now with Elvis Costello in 2024 summer. So, Catfish, are you ready to hear Double M Matt Murdock's final musical analysis of The Acolyte?
The Micallef. Yes, absolutely. Let's hear it.
As Bubba likes to say, finally we have a conclusion to that massive musical analysis that I did a few weeks ago regarding a particular motive. Just in case you missed it, just in case you skipped ahead, as Catfish likes to say, here is what I'm talking about. And boy, did we get a ton of variations regarding this in just a short span of time. It first occurs when Soul says, "I wanted to tell you," and Osha says, "Stop talking." And the notes are changed a little bit, but the melodic shape is the same, and you recognize it as the same melody. Plus, there's just a whole lot under these first occurrences of really dissonant chords. By dissonant, I mean that all of the notes are kind of crushed together. Every note in the chord has another note right next to it, which makes it sound really tense. That sounds like this. And then we hear it again just very shortly after that as he starts to feel her force choking him. Again, that motif is there. The notes aren't quite right, and they're placed in the space of the key that makes it just seem odd, weird, and that's because we're seeing the descent of Osha. We also hear it as he falls to his knees. And then there's that whole dramatic bit in the middle, which I'll get to in a second. But at the end of that, we also hear it in its original form, but we have this descending bass line that goes against it that tells you that as we saw the Kyber crystal change, it changed correctly. She's gone to the dark side. That's what the descending bass line does. Now, to get back to the really kind of the big dramatic part, because Soul tells Osha that it's okay to kill him, and the Kyber crystal turns red, we get a very dramatic version of a similar theme that's been played throughout the season. And what makes it so dramatic is the counter lines that go against it. The violins, the strings are playing the melody. A French horn plays these little lines underneath and sometimes soaring above that really add the drama to it. sometimes it's not always just the chords that make it dramatic or change your feeling about something, but the way that those chords do continue to descend leads up to that very final version of that motive that I talked about before. Really made it emotional, really made it kind of stupefying to me. Loved the end of this season, but that's for Bubba and Catfish to decide. Back to them.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, excellent. Bubba,
Yeah.
not only do we have Double M's comments about this episode, we've already got some listener feedback about this episode. This is so great we can get it in. One of our favorite loyal listeners, Harley Camille, says Acolyte 9 out of 10 double S's.
Wait, double S's?
Sith sequel.
Oh boy.
I docked it for leaving us hanging on more Sith. Was that
at one point?
Plaguies?
Yes.
Too many bad reviews, so will they renew? I knew they would blame it on Soul.
Yes, terrible.
Because it was Soul's fault.
Hey, now, once again, we've already mentioned this, Harley Camille, but I really think the renewal is all about what is Disney's plan for Disney Plus moving forward. We know Andor season 2, Andor, which has had the lowest rating of any live action Star Wars show, it got renewed before kind of Bob Iger came in and said, I don't know. As I mentioned, Ahsoka, they did renew for season 2, but boy, did it take a while before there was any announcement. I really think now it's just a matter of how much money are we going to budget for Star Wars on Disney, original Star Wars content on Disney Plus. We are going to probably keep doing the Star Wars animated shows on Disney Plus, and so just we shall see. But definitely, I would think even people who might have had trouble with this season, the idea of a season about Osha getting trained by the Keymaster and Darth Plagueis being there, I think that does intrigue people. I mean, that's
pretty exciting.
That does sound intriguing.
I'm looking forward to that, despite the fact that I feel they horribly jury-rigged this ending.
Yeah,
I'm definitely up for season 2. As you can see, I mean, I put Acolyte above Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. Which I didn't see. All right. Gen X Cat Mom at Allmod Cons with a Z says, very mixed feelings. There were a couple spectacular fights and choreography. That's what you
want,
Bubba.
100%
The story seemed rushed in parts.
Probably.
They agreeing with me. Padawan obsession unexplained. I'm glad there wasn't a Tyler Durden ending. Yes, preliminary rating 7 out of 10.
That's what I gave it. We are on pretty much the same page, it feels like.
Absolutely. All right. Who is Yuki at Who is Yuki? Community Survivor Yuki says, I loved it. I'm shaking with excitement for possible season 2. Love that. And that too. And that you're going to have to read this one.
Oh, I think Yuki was trying to be not spoiler. He said, I loved that and that too. And hated that other specific X. So I asked people for their feedback without spoilers. So Yuki came through by not having any spoilers. Thank you very much.
And totally tripped me up. Look, we got some episode feedback from episode 7. Wani Hopwood says, Padawan, sir. Crying, laughing emoji. Solid, be careful with that. Better be careful with that path. Desire might lead him down. By far, my favorite Star Wars show is Andor. Correct answer, because you agreed with Catfish.
Hey, Kevin Driscoll said thanks, and Kevin left us some financial thanks via YouTube.
What?
Was this incredible? So just so you know, and let me say, Kevin, nobody has ever done this, so we didn't know how to react. But what somebody did for Kevin is on YouTube, there is a thanks button. So there's, a share button. Hey, share it on social media, share it wherever. There's a download button, and there's a thanks button. And Kevin very kindly thanked us with money. And all we can say, Kevin, is you didn't have to do it. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing it. And the fact that you listen, that's been great.
But now that he has done it,
yes,
other people should. All right, the real Mike Brown says Jedis are the worst.
What?
Not only are they extremely boring, but they're also hypocrites.
Ouch.
Oh my God. You know, that comment's got soul written all over it. They drone on at you about all their justifications.
You're
just
like, boring. Look at how he's just
the F up.
Boring. Look at how he's just destroying Chimere in his lightsaber fights.
All right. At the Lowdown Show, 313 says, to add to the comedy on episode 7, Torben found out it's not wise to turn down a Wookiee cooking because he got his face scratched. He's now missing an eye and a loss of hair. Ouch.
Yeah, that is tough when you start, male pattern eye loss is tough.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Hanzo gave us this comment.
Yeah.
Which kind of begs further explanation.
Mm-hmm.
It says you gave episode 7 a rating of 7? 4 question marks. Are you, all caps, mental? 4 exclamation points. Does that mean we rated it too high or too low? You need to give us some guidance because we cannot read your minds.
Right. Well, I would say that a bit like this episode, there were things in it I liked, things in it I didn't like. Hopefully I explained the stuff that I liked and didn't like. But I think we both gave last week's episode a 7. Our good buddy, Link Hogthrob at Matt's Test Lab 1 on Twitter, he went to my old school hip-hop heart. He said, LL Cool Q. Ladies love cool Khmer.
Yeah.
Just a thought. I always forgot that you guys requested for ad placements in the Himbo Moments of the Week. You guys need to prompt on Twitter and Instagram and Threads like you do for the House of Dragon match game. And you are 100% right, Link Hogthrob.
Good job. I'm glad you followed that this time.
He said, always enjoy your work and end up learning something and laughing from the podcast. Whew, thank you so much.
That is awesome. Our boy Dan Hickling. Yeah. Episode 7 gets 3 double T's.
Double T's.
Torben toupees. I tried, y'all. Best not to call Saul. This series belongs in the Triple C.
Wait, Triple C?
Captain Crozier's crapper. Oh, Dan, I'm so sorry.
That is a throwback, Dan, to Captain Crozier from our coverage of The Terror. Dan, just for that, we're not going to give you 3. We're going to give you 10 out of 10. Hell yes. Good work.
I want Dan to talk to Hanzo and find out if they're on the same page or whether Hanzo
possibly, yeah. I think Hanzo is on that page.
All right, here we go, Bubba. Zephyrcat7 says, shout out to Bubba for his fabulous Oz chair dance and song. 10 out of 10 double B's.
Wait, double B's?
Bouncing Bubbas.
Hell yeah.
I agree Saul is obsessed in Padawans Osha, but I feel like
catching he's still on Catfish. Padawans is catching on. Incredible.
But I feel like he's still a good guy because his intentions were to help the twins.
Yes, thank you.
Zephyr, I need your comment now. Torben is a whiny little bee in his complaints about being stuck on the planet. He was also a himbo with the witch mom, but you can't really blame him. No. I give the episode 8 out of 10 triple W's.
Triple W's.
Wispy wafting witches.
Oh my goodness gracious. Listeners,
so good.
Why we put the feedback at the end when it's always brilliant? We should put it the best thing in the show. Maybe that's why we save it to the end so you guys have to listen to our ridiculousness for all these podcasts. They can
always skip ahead, Bubba.
Skip ahead. All right. To thank you for all your wonderful feedback and thoughts on the Acolyte, what are we going to do right now, Catfish?
Bubba, I am going to roll a random number generator, and we are going to give out 5 prizes. Now, let me ask you this. I've got some shirts that are small, some shirts that are medium, some L, XL. They're different sizes. They do run a little small. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to tell you which shirt you got. It's going to be by size. So the first people get back to us with their sizes, they'll get shirts closer to their sizes. And maybe at the end, someone's going to end up with the shirt they'll have to give to their niece or whatever. All right. So the first, we're rolling for the first of 5. The first winner out of 5 is Seth Bell.
Whoa, good old Seth
Bell. You win. You win a t-shirt. Oh my God. This is so good. All right, here we go. Rolling again, Bubba. I'm redoing the numbers so we can roll again. Yes, yes, yes. It is going to be so exciting.
Don't let it be Seth Bell again. That would be embarrassing.
No, that's why I'm taking them out. That's why I think it's time.
Sorry, okay.
It's Gaverny.
Oh, Gaverny. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Wonderful comments on YouTube from Gaverny, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, my God. So good. So good. All right, here we go. We can roll again. We got 3 more to give.
Let's hear
Hold
it.
on, but I got to change the numbers. Okay, here we go. Christian Fiorito.
Ooh,
Christian, you won a t-shirt from us. Tell
Thank
us your
you.
size.
yes.
Okay, here we go. We got 2 more to give out. Elias Sideways. Add
Oh,
Elias
wow.
Sideways.
Now
You
that is
won
a
one.
true double
That
L.
is so
Excellent.
good. All right, Bubba, this is
Yep.
it now. We have only 1 shirt left to
Okay.
give. All right, I'm
exciting.
rolling it. And it is, oh my God, it's our boy, Link Hogthrob Match
Oh,
Test Lab.
wow.
You won the final shirt.
Incredible.
All right, so again, hit us up at any of our social medias at double PHQ. Let us know your shirt size, and then we'll get back to you if that shirt size is taken already. It's first come, first served as
Heck
far
yeah.
as the sizes go. So once again, our grand prize winners, Seth Bell, Gaverni, Christian Fiorito, Elias Sideways, and Link Hogthrob, aka Match Test Lab 1. You win a beautiful Star Wars themed.
Heck yeah. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us. You will hear us on this podcast feed again for Skeleton Crew coming up in the last months of 2024. But always check out all the podcasts. Follow us on social media at WPHQ to find out what we're up to now. For everybody here, my name's Bubba. You can reach out to me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Fittin Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fittin Trim on social media.
And I'm Catfish. You can hit me up at G to the Man. That's GEETOTHEMAN on Instagram or Blue Sky. And we will talk to you soon on
Parsec Passion. So you watch till the end of the credits, and then
Yeah.
he sits up, looks right into the camera.
Yeah.
Women.
Well, you know what you can't say about him?
Yeah.
He's definitely not the sole survivor.
Edit. Terrible.